Lord of the Flies, William Golding. Published in 1954, Lord of the Flies is William Golding's brutal deconstruction of civilization. A group of British schoolboys crash land on a deserted island. At first, they attempt to create order, using a conch shell to organize meetings, assigning roles, even building shelters. But with no adults to enforce rules, cracks form quickly. Fear spreads, hunger grows, rational thought loses ground, and slowly the boys descend into tribalism and bloodlust. Piggy, representing logic and intellect, is dismissed, mocked, and eventually killed. His glasses, the symbol of science, are stolen to start fires. The Lord of the Flies, a pig's head mounted on a stick, becomes the boys' grotesque god. It's not just a symbol of savagery, it's what they've become. Golding, a World War II veteran, wasn't just writing adventure fiction. He was showing that without structure, human nature can tilt terrifyingly toward chaos. There's no supernatural villain here. The monster is within. Even the arrival of a rescue ship doesn't feel like salvation. It's a reminder that the civilized world isn't so different. Golding forces us to ask, if innocence can vanish this fast, was it ever real? This novel doesn't just explore darkness, it argues it's embedded in us, and that's what makes it unforgettable. Brave New World, Aldous Huxley, published in 1932. Brave New World is Aldous Huxley's chilling vision of a future where control doesn't come from fear, but pleasure. Society is engineered from birth. People are created in hatcheries, divided into castes, and conditioned to never question their place. There's no war, no poverty, and no heartbreak, but there's also no freedom. Emotions are numbed. Individuality is erased. And when discomfort threatens the system, citizens take soma, a state-sanctioned drug that silences discontent. Huxley wasn't just predicting technology. He was warning against a culture that trades truth for comfort. In this world, art, religion, and literature are seen as dangerous because they make people think. Love is replaced by sex without attachment. Parenting is obsolete, and the past is banned entirely. The arrival of John the Savage, a man raised outside this system, throws everything into question. He values pain, passion, and choice. But to this society, he's a relic. His refusal to conform leads to tragedy. Huxley's point lands hard. When people stop feeling discomfort, they stop being human. Unlike Orwell's 1984, where control comes from terror, Brave New World uses pleasure as a leash. That's what makes it scarier. It's not a nightmare of brutality. It's a dream world so shallow you forget you're drowning. The Handmaid's Tale, Margaret Atwood, published in 1985. The Handmaid's Tale presents a theocratic dystopia where women are reduced to reproductive vessels. Margaret Atwood based every element of Gilead on real-world historical oppression. Nothing in the novel is fantasy. In this near-future regime, religious fundamentalists have taken control after a fertility crisis. Women can't own property, read, or even speak freely. Their names are erased, their identities reduced to function. Offred, the narrator, is a handmaid, forced to bear children for elite commanders. She lives under constant surveillance. Every act, even a whisper, carries the risk of death. But the deeper horror is psychological. Offred remembers her life before, her daughter, her lover, her name. That memory is what both anchors her and breaks her. Language is a weapon in Gilead. Scripture is twisted into control. Even small acts of resistance, stealing butter, glancing too long, become radical. The regime doesn't just want obedience. It wants internal submission. Atwood's message is clear. Freedoms disappear slowly, then all at once. And once they're gone, reclaiming them feels impossible. The story isn't told with explosions. It's told through dread, silence, and control. The Handmaid's Tale doesn't warn us about some distant nightmare. It warns us about what's already happened, and what can happen again. Crime and Punishment, Fyodor Dostoevsky, first published in 1866. Crime and Punishment is one of literature's earliest psychological thrillers. Fyodor Dostoevsky wasn't writing a whodunit. He tells you on page 1, Raskolnikov murders a pawnbroker with a stolen axe. What matters is why, and what happens next. A poor former student, Raskolnikov believes in a theory that certain people are extraordinary, above moral law. Kill one useless woman, save many lives. Simple, logical, justified, on paper. But the mind doesn't work like theory. Guilt seeps in immediately. Raskolnikov isolates himself. He sweats, he hallucinates, he rants about morality to strangers. The tension in this novel isn't from police pursuit, it's internal. He's hunted by his own conscience, and it doesn't let go. Dostoevsky, a man who narrowly escaped execution and survived a Siberian prison camp, knew torment firsthand. His writing drips with paranoia, religious tension, and existential pain. Redemption comes eventually, but not through justice. It arrives through suffering, love, and spiritual surrender. This book doesn't ask, was the murder right or wrong? It asks, how do we live with our choices? Raskolnikov's Descent shows how intellectual arrogance collapses under emotional truth. Crime and Punishment is dense, heavy, and unrelenting. It's not horror in genre, but it's pure dread in psychology. Heart of Darkness, Joseph Conrad, published in 1899 as a novella, Heart of Darkness is a brutal critique of colonialism, disguised as an expedition story. Joseph Conrad, who sailed the Congo himself, wasn't writing about adventure. He was exposing the rot beneath civilized empires. Marlowe, the narrator, travels up the Congo River to find Mr. Kurtz, an ivory trader who's gone rogue. But this isn't really about Kurtz. It's about what happens when you strip away law, culture, and restraint. As Marlowe journeys deeper into the jungle, he witnesses horrors, enslaved laborers, unchecked violence, and eerie silence from the European colonists. By the time he finds Kurtz, the man has gone mad, worshipped as a demigod by locals, severed heads mounted outside his hut. Kurtz's last words, the horror, sum up everything Conrad wants you to confront. This isn't just about imperial cruelty. It's about how quickly power corrupts. Kurtz was once idealistic. Now he's consumed. And Marlowe? He doesn't leave enlightened. He leaves haunted. Heart of Darkness is dense, symbolic, and layered with ambiguity. The jungle becomes a metaphor for the mind, and what we find when we journey into it. Conrad's message is simple but chilling. The real monster isn't out there. It's inside us, and it always was. Fight Club, Chuck Palahniuk, published in 1996. Fight Club is a sharp, nihilistic takedown of consumer culture and identity loss in modern life. The narrator, unnamed, sleepless, and emotionally numb, lives a life defined by IKEA furniture and corporate slogans. His body is exhausted, his mind is fractured, and his soul is missing. Enter Tyler Durden, charismatic, rebellious, everything the narrator isn't. Together they create Fight Club, a place for men to feel something real by beating each other senseless. But Tyler isn't real. He's a dissociative personality, a manifestation of suppressed rage. As the violence escalates into Project Mayhem, a full-blown anti-capitalist terror cell, the line between rebellion and madness disappears. Palahniuk uses jagged prose, dark humor, and raw aggression to strip away the illusions of modern manhood. The novel isn't glorifying chaos, it's diagnosing a spiritual sickness. Tyler preaches liberation but delivers destruction. The narrator realizes too late that Tyler is just another cage, built from broken identity. Killing him isn't just survival, it's recovery. Fight Club critiques toxic masculinity, emotional repression, and consumerism without offering easy solutions. The twist that Tyler is him isn't just a plot device, it's the thesis. When society buries your real self, what rises up might not be human. It might be violent, angry, and out for blood. The Silence of the Lambs, Thomas Harris. Published in 1988, The Silence of the Lambs isn't just a thriller, it's a psychological chess match. At the center is Clarice Starling, a young FBI trainee tasked with interviewing Dr. Hannibal Lecter, a brilliant psychiatrist and cannibalistic serial killer. Her goal? Use Lecter's insight to track down another killer, Buffalo Bill, who's abducting and skinning women. But Harris doesn't make this about the case. It's about control. Every conversation between Clarice and Lecter is a layered power exchange. Lecter doesn't just answer questions. He dissects Clarice's psyche. He sees her trauma, her ambition, her fear, and he respects her. That's what makes it disturbing. Buffalo Bill is terrifying, yes, but he's distant. Lecter, on the other hand, is present. Calm, cultured, uncaged in his mind, even behind glass. He's a villain who doesn't need to move a muscle to terrify you. Clarice isn't a traditional protagonist either. She's vulnerable, smart, determined, but constantly undermined in a male-dominated field. Her journey is as much about proving herself as it is about catching a killer. The Silence of the Lambs succeeds because it understands that horror isn't just gore or screams. It's intimacy with evil. Harris shows us how unsettling it is when your greatest ally might be the most dangerous person in the room. Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury. Published in 1953, Fahrenheit 451 is Ray Bradbury's warning about a world that burns books to keep people docile. The title refers to the temperature at which paper ignites. In this future, firemen don't save homes, they destroy knowledge. But the real danger isn't censorship by force, it's apathy. People have traded depth for convenience, critical thinking for passive entertainment. The TV walls are loud. The conversations are shallow. Nobody remembers anything meaningful. Montag, a fireman, begins as part of the system. But a brief encounter with Clarice, a curious young girl who asks questions instead of reciting slogans, sparks a quiet rebellion. He steals a book, then another. Then everything changes. His wife numbs herself with media. His boss lectures him about the danger of ideas. And Montag starts to see. The true horror isn't the flames, it's the emptiness. People aren't forced to stay ignorant. They've chosen it. Bradbury, writing during the rise of television and Cold War paranoia, foresaw a society addicted to distraction. The firemen are symptoms, not the cause. Montag's escape leads him to a hidden group of readers who memorize books to preserve them. It's a fragile hope, but it burns brighter than any fire. In this world, remembering becomes an act of rebellion.
Subscribe for more interesting stuff. Tell us your experience in the comments.